אתם מאזינים לרדיו החברתי הראשון. אתם מאזינים לרדיו החברתי הראשון. ועכשיו מדברים עסקים משפחתיים, על יחסים בין בני משפחה שעובדים ביחד, בהגשת השדרית יעל דור, ורק אצלנו ברדיו החברתי הראשון.
Shalom lekulam, good afternoon and happy Hanukkah to you all. Today program number 15 will be for the first time in English. Family Business Talk Show is a program about the relationship between family members that work together in a family business. My name is Yael Dor. I'm an artist, art therapist, and I facilitate experiential meetings with family business that help family members not only to speak their truth, but to thrive personally and collectively as a team and as a business. I am a second generation to a family business, a pavement blocks factory, which exists for 45 years, and we were 3 generations working together. I bring to the show all my insights, ideas, and my stories from 30 years of participating in my family business. The program will bring stories of the different generations, the founder, the second, the third, the fourth, and more. Stories of couples working together, siblings, parents and kids, cousins, in-law, and more. From establishing the business to turn it to a family business, as well the transition between the different generations. In the program, we'll talk about the challenges, the mistakes, the success, the learning, how to prevent conflicts and manage them when they come. The program will bring researchers and advisors, and most important, we'll talk about the investment in family relationships which affects all cycles of life. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Dr. Jeymi Treyger-Muni. Right?
Treyger-Muni.
Muni.
Not easy to say.
Yes. Okay, so Dr. Jeymi specialized in the emotional impact of wealth on inheritors, women and couples. She is the founder of Wealthy Legacy Group.
Wealth Legacy Group.
Wealth, yes. She has revolutionized the conversation of wealth and worth by providing an opportunity to openly discuss the role money plays in her clients' lives, enabling them to be passionately engaged in their world and to lead a rich life. She works with multi-generational families, helping them to concertize their values, develop a vision for the future, and create sound governance structures. Jeymi's personal experience as an owner of family business and board member of her family foundation, combined with her theoretical and practical expertise in wealth psychology, has given her a unique sensitivity to issues surrounding the intergenerational family dynamics of affluence. Jeymi has been featured in major media outlets such as BBC, Reuters, Huffington Post, Third Metric, Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg Business Week. She is a regular contributor to Thrive Global and has been named as one of Medium's top financial writers. Jeymi also has distinction of being the first psychologist ever to be hired as an employee of a bank. To work with a client, she worked as a family wealth consultant for Wells Fargo's Family Wealth Corporation and multifamily office platform serving families with 50 million and above, and investable assets. Our talk today will be about money and wealth and inheritors, and about our relationship with money and wealth. So, Jaymi, welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. How great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Thank you for doing it in English, too. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. It's a challenge, but it's an opportunity. So, before we begin, I want our viewer and also me to understand, because I said third metric. What is third metric?
The third metric is Arianna Huffington's broadcast where she looks at, and I'm not even positive I know the answer to this.
Yes.
I should know. She looks at three pieces of the pillars of what's important in life.
Yes.
And that we're not paying enough attention to well-being and
Wisdom, wonder, and giving.
Yes. It's not fair to ask questions about somebody else's.
No, but I mentioned it. That's why.
Yes, because she had me on her show.
Yes, so I mentioned it so for viewers to understand what it means. Because I looked it up, I didn't know what it meant. So it's
well, and also I believe, and again, I don't know for sure, but the third metric is that we look at different metrics to evaluate people's lives. And Arianna Huffington's belief is that we're not paying attention sufficiently to the metrics that are most important to people's lives. So those of well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving, which I completely agree with. And I think that our goals are really about thriving, not just, doing well at our job or making a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah, it's not only money and power. So it's much more than that. Another word was
Wells Fargo.
Yeah. Yes.
So Wells Fargo is a large investment banking company in the United States.
It's a very old one.
It is a very old one.
Yes.
They started in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I worked, and they have a lot of history around Stagecoach bringing the money to people, and so it was wonderful to work for them. I worked in their multifamily office, which is now called Abbott Downing, so that's a separate division of Wells Fargo. And my boss, Michael Cole, had the brilliance to realize, sort of like Arianna Huffington, that the metrics that families look at when they're investing in their wealth and leading a rich life, as I like to say, is not just about money and power.
Yes.
But also, particularly for multi-generational families that have money invested together, family enterprises, there's so much more to look at, and looking at the family dynamics and looking at the family communication. So he believed in it so strongly that he brought me in to work with his clients. And we have a funny story that about a day after I started working, he went and did a press conference, and somehow they got wind of him hiring a wealth psychologist. And I'll send you that video. I mean, it was about 10 years ago, and it was on Squawk Box, which is a CNBC program, radio program. They really made horrible fun of it.
But it's very unique. I mean,
it's very unique, but his boss's boss, so like 2 levels up, the head of the ultra high net worth division of Wells Fargo, wrote an email and said, "We have a wealth psychologist" in the title, with about 20 question marks afterwards. So this was a real experiment. And Michael came and he said, "Okay, it's gone public, so we got to make this work." But now it's, at least in the United States, it's becoming the norm for financial institutions that work with ultra high net worth families to have a family wealth consultant. They call them different things, a family dynamics consultant. So it really was the beginning of an experiment.
When was it?
I began working there in 2007, which, for the United States was a challenging time because it's...
2008, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So
okay. So before we continue, we'll have a Hanukkah song. Today it's Hanukkah, the first candle of Hanukkah. So there's song called, a group called Maccabeats. I think Maccabeats, yes. Candlelight, that's the name of the song.
I'll tell a tale, yeah. Of Maccabees in Israel, yeah. When the Greeks tried to sail, yeah. But it was all to no avail, yeah. The war went on and on and on until the mighty Greeks were gone, yeah.
I put my lockers in the air sometimes, saying hey, oh, spin the dreidel. Just wanna celebrate for all 8 nights, singing hey, oh, light the candle. We say Alhamdulillah, oh yeah, for all 8 nights. Then we play dreidel by the candlelight. And I told you once, now I told you twice, about the miracle of the candlelight.
They took the field. Their rivals thought, are they for real? Those Maccabees, they never yield. They charged ahead with sword and shield. Yeah, the war went on and on and on until the mighty Greeks were gone, yeah.
I put my lockers in the air sometimes, saying hey, oh, spin the dreidel. Just wanna celebrate for all 8 nights, singing hey, oh, light the candle. We say ma'otur, oh yeah, for all 8 nights. Then we play dreidel by the candlelight. And I told you once, now I told you twice, about the miracle of the candlelight.
And the great menorah, for 8 days it kept on burning. What a celebration, a great return to Torah learning. 'Cause I can feel it, and Nes Gadol, Nes Gadol, Nes Gadol Hayasham, Nes Gadol Hayasham, Nes Gadol Hayasham, sham.
I put my lockers in the air sometimes, saying hey, oh, spin the dreidel. Just wanna celebrate for all 8 nights, singing hey, oh, light the candles. We say ma'otur, oh yeah, for all 8 nights. Then we play dreidel by the candlelight. And I told you once, now I told you twice, about the miracle of the candlelight.
Okay, we are back. So, Jaymi, good to see you again, talk to you. So tell us a little bit about the Wealth Legacy Group.
So the Wealth Legacy Group is a group of consultants specializing in the emotional impact of money, wealth, and privilege in people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I began this consulting group in 2003 after starting first. I just graduated with my PhD in psychology and opened a clinical practice, and was very curious that even though I lived in a wealthy area, the one thing my clients were not talking about at all was money. I heard a lot about sex, but I heard nothing about money. And I'm always curious about what people aren't saying and the conversations that aren't being had. You know, people are struggling with money. I would hear a little bit about it, but otherwise I didn't hear anything about it. And, I realized that money is still one of the big taboos in our culture that we don't know how to talk about.
Yes.
And especially even in the therapist's office, they don't know how to talk about it. So I decided to specialize in wealth and wealth psychology. And I decided to take away the piece of being a psychologist because I felt that was like a double whammy. Here I am asking people to talk about the taboos of money and wealth, that I didn't want to call it psychology because I think people still have a negative
approach, or
they think that most people think that traditional psychology, which is true, looks at what's wrong with you and how can you fix it, which is not at all my approach. I'm much more of a positive psychologist that looks at how can you go from good to great, how can you take your life and increase it to thriving even more. But I still thought that looking at money and calling it psychology were sort of a little bit too much, so I decided to do more of a coaching and consulting model, and really that's much more appropriate for the kinds of work that I do with my clients now. It's not therapy.
So who are your clients?
My clients are wealth holders. They could be a multi-generational family. I've worked with families as small as maybe 6 people and as large as 28 people, spanning 3 generations.
So also family business, not only people who want to pass their wealth to their kids.
Well, they usually go hand in hand.
Yes.
It depends where that wealth was founded, but almost always it was founded in some kind of business enterprise. And even if they've sold the family business, they still have fiduciary responsibility. They have joint real estate almost always. So there's some aspect of dual or multiple relationships within the family around some kind of business dealings as well as just the personal relationships. And I know you know this, but my belief is that whatever's there, the more relationships you have and the more wealth you have, I look at it kind of like wax on wood. If there's beautiful grain in the wood, that just deepens it. So the opportunities for connections are there, and the freedom to travel together, do things together, and have experiences. But also, if there's knots in the wood, then that also amplifies those problems. So those problems can be even bigger, and families with wealth and family businesses, it's not unusual for them to take each other to court to really
you read about it all the time,
and that ruins family relationships, and and it ruins the wealth that's taken so many generations to build. True. So I also work with inheritors individually. I work with sibling bands. I work with couples, and often I work with other industries such as accountants, financial advisors, people who are working with families of wealth, and I do advising for them.
But they don't have the skills of emotional...
Exactly. So I do trainings for them, or workshops, or sometimes I just coach from behind. They don't know how to deal with a certain issue within a couple or within a family, so I help advise.
And you, immigrant, you made Aliyah to Israel 10 years ago.
I did.
And you have clients in Israel and
I have clients all over the world.
All over
so
the world.
It's really nice. Luckily, as we see here, we live in a global world, so we can be broadcasting all over the world. I see clients on video conference, and then I also travel.
Okay, so a little bit my love to money, and we'll talk about what money is. I grew up on, when I think about money, my father used to carry in his pocket coins for years and years and years. And at that time there was no credit cards, maybe checks, but normally you would carry cash. So my father used to have a lot of coins in his pocket. So I grew up on hearing the sound of coins And I love it. and I love money. I brought this $50 because I love the smell of money. So what is money? I mean, money is coins and bills, or money is something completely different?
I think it's such a great question. So, tachlis,
Yes.
at the bottom of everything, what is money? Money
Yes.
is a neutral form of barter. I mean, if you hand me that $50 bill,
Yes.
you and I have made a social contract that means something.
Yes.
It's really just a piece of paper.
Yes.
But because we both agree that it has a certain amount of value in the world, it becomes having that certain amount of value.
Yes.
And I would say not only do we build a social contract around what money actually means, but we build such a fantasy
Yes.
around what money brings. And we have this mistaken idea
Yeah.
that the more money we have, it just makes everything better. And
Yeah, but another thing, what is enough?
that's right.
Yeah, because when you have you think this is enough, and then it's not enough. You want more, and you want more, and you want more. So maybe the whole idea about money is it's something that the commercial a message that we are living on, that we need this and we need that, and if we have this, we'll be happy. If we have this, we'll have happy. If we have 3 houses, we'll be happy, and we have this amount of money, we'll be happy. So it's never enough.
Well, I mean, I think that again is a mindset,
Yes.
because I think there's
Yes.
very many people that find that they do have enough, and they
Yeah.
live in much less wealthy countries
Yes.
than where you and I live.
Yes,
So
true.
when
Like
they
in
look.
India, yes.
When they look at the happiness index,
Yes.
Bhutan is one of the countries that always ranks the highest on world happiness. Now, I don't know what the GDP is, but I
Yeah.
guarantee you it's lower than it
Yes.
is here in
Yes.
America. And so I think the mistaken belief
Yes.
is that we can buy happiness. Be it with money, be it, in any way. And I
Yes.
think that that happiness is something that, we have research on what brings us happiness.
Yes.
And that research shows that what leads to happiness for people is a sense of purpose, a sense of purpose that's
Yes.
bigger than themselves. It's
Yes.
not just about, I have a goal to buy a Gucci purse or a Ferrari, but something bigger, that they're making a
Yeah.
contribution in a
True.
a difference in the world.
Yeah, and
All-
when the researcher doing mind research, they discover that purpose is the highest.
Exactly.
Yes.
They've done research where they've given people the opportunity they give them money, and they have the opportunity either to spend it on themselves or spend it on someone else.
Yeah.
And then they do brain scans
Yes.
and they see how long. And
Yeah.
that spending it on somebody else and making somebody else happy actually brings much longer
Yeah.
happiness. So
Yes.
we have a lot of mistaken ideas
Yes.
about what brings us happiness.
Yes.
And so we're constantly, and we get fed so many ads a day about
That's
you
what I
need
s-
this,
yeah.
you need that,
Yeah.
you're not complete unless your hair is thick.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
we were talking about
My
makeup.
problem.
Yeah, we were talking about makeup on,
Yes.
and what a
Yes.
huge industry that
Yes.
is. So
Yes.
I think that when you go after the wrong thing
Yes.
and then you find it empty, then it's like eating empty calories.
Yes.
It's like eating sugar. It's
Yeah.
it's fun and it's enjoyable
Yeah,
to
we
a
talked
certain
about it today
Yeah.
because of sufganiyot.
Sufganiyot. Yeah, it's fun and enjoyable
Yes.
for a little
Yeah.
bit, but then eventually
Yeah,
you get
for the
sick,
moment.
and you can't understand why
Yes.
it isn't filling you up.
Yes.
Because we're not looking at what actually gives us fulfillment.
Yes. So I want to, my mentor, Danny Vidislavsky, I don't know if you heard about him, but recently I went to a class of his, and his say about money, that money does not connect with bills and checks. Money is a mental condition that express our potential of, I don't know if I say it correct, contain. How much we can contain money. And when we have wealth, sometimes wealth just go away from us. So that's what he meant, that like if a family has a lot of wealth and the kids do not know how to handle wealth. They lose their wealth. Many times
Very frequently.
Yeah.
And again, it begs the question, even
Yes.
I think more important than what is money is
Yes.
what is wealth.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
you know, what
That's
is
another
wealth
question.
having a very
Yeah.
large bank account? And
Yes.
again, you know, what they've shown study after study is, first of all, the most important things Harvard did, we talked about this
Yes.
before,
Yeah.
a very
Relationship.
long longitudinal study,
Yes.
and they found that the most important thing that brings us I would think that it's a potential of fulfillment, maybe
Yes.
is a better word,
Fulfillment.
that
Okay.
brings us fulfillment in life
Okay.
is relationships,
Yes.
positive relationships in
What
our
he
life.
meant is like a container that you can lachil. I don't know how to say it, but I was looking for this word. But it's like you have like a glass, and the glass have a lot of water inside, and if there's no water, it's empty. So it's like
To fill.
So
So again, I think it is fulfillment, is
fulfillment.
being, you know.
Fulfillment.
And again,
Okay.
when you think that money is what brings you fulfillment, and again, you know, I like to base the work that I do on research. So what's fascinating is some of the research that they've done on lottery winners who come with, you know, they come into a lot of money very quickly.
Yes.
And there's an initial spike in terms of their happiness, but it very quickly, you know, I think certainly within 3 years, they're back to their original, whatever level of happiness or unhappiness they were at.
Yes, and even less. than
And
they
they've
have-
often very quickly lost the money.
Yeah, that shows that money doesn't make you happy, doesn't bring you happiness. Okay, so we talked about money and we talked about wealth, and I looked in the Bible, in Christianity, and as well in Judaism. And in Christianity, they say money is not the root of all evil. The use of money can be very worthwhile. It can build orphanages, it can be hospital, to feed the poor, to preach the gospel, to build universities. What is money being used for? Is being used for God glory, that's in Christianity, or it is being used for pleasure? Is it being used for pride, to support a dictator, and for purchase of arms with which to kill people, or which we see it in the world? Or is it being used for a higher purpose? So really, that's another thing about wealth, that what do you do with your wealth? How you divide it? What do you put? How much you put in business? How much you put in tzedakah? That's what I found out, that it's most common in Judaism. To philanthropy is an important part of Jewish culture. That's what I found. So what you can say about?
Well, you know, I can speak more to Jewish roots and money is, you know, one. I think two of the big pieces of being Jewish is one, tikkun olam.
Yes.
So you know, it's not your responsibility to fix the world, but it's your responsibility to be part of that. And I read that as being a global citizen. You know, again, it's not about buying for your own sake. It's you know, how can you positively change the world? And I want to be clear, it's not that I think that people should only go and change the world and contribute. I think there's a balance. But it's, you know, it's remembering that you're part of a larger collective of people, be it your family, your neighborhood, your community, your country, your world.
Yes.
So, and the world is getting more and more flat in terms of what we know goes on.
Yes.
Then I also think the other thing is tzedakah that you talked about, which, you know, is roughly translated to justice.
Yes.
So how can we use our wealth to bring more justice in the world?
Yeah.
And that, you know, I specialize in working with inheritors, and it's something that my inheritors really struggle with because they have, first of all, we put so much value on, you know, earned wealth and making it on your own. But when you didn't earn it and you didn't make it, and by, you know, just pure luck, you have so much wealth and so much more than most of the people around you. It's, you know, that's one of the things that's challenging.
It's like
it feels
you're taking it for granted in a way.
or you
I mean,
feel that it's very unfair. That
yes.
why do you have so much more when
Yeah.
other people don't? And it can be very uncomfortable. So, you know, some of my clients that I've worked with, I've actually had to work with them more to be spending more of their money on taking care of themselves because out of guilt or out of a sense of feeling that they need to be having a more just society, they're spending so much, which I think is good. But when you're not taking care of yourself,
Yeah, that's
Then-
not good.
right.
You can't take care of others.
right. So I always talk to
Yes,
my clients
yes.
about what we hear when we're on an airplane. You know, what does the stewardess say? And it was funny because I was working with one of my clients and she spent so much money in philanthropy and doesn't take care of herself
Oh,
so
wow.
well. So I said to her, you know, what do they say when you get on the airplane? She says they say you put on somebody else's oxygen mask and then you put on your own. And I said, no, that's actually exactly opposite what they
Right.
say.
You first put
You
it,
first
yeah.
put on your own
Right.
so that you have the wherewithal,
Yes.
the
To ha-
self-care to
yeah.
be able to
Yes.
put on, you know, if you put on somebody else's, you could put on one or two
Yes.
and then you pass out. If you make sure that you are taking care of your needs,
Yes.
then you have more of a capacity to help others.
Capacity. That's the word.
Capacity.
Yeah, that's the word.
They say that in planes too.
Yeah, that's what we're talking
Yes,
about on
yes.
planes. And you can see I've
So-
lived in Israel for a while because instead of
Yeah.
saying put on your oxygen mask,
Yes.
I always find myself saying
Gas mask.
put on your gas mask. So
They normally they say it with kids. First you put it on yourself and then you take
That's
care of your kid.
right.
And also it can be on the other side as well. Like you don't people with wealth, they give a lot of money for philanthropy, but you can see it on the other hand that they spend so much and they don't help others. So
Well, and again, it's
Yes.
getting back to
Yeah.
what our fantasy about what makes life fulfilling
yes,
versus what we're finding based on research. And again,
Yes.
that research says having goals bigger than yourself,
Yes.
working with like-minded people,
Yes.
having a support system,
yes,
you know, and really when they show how much money you need. Now, I know this much more in an American society, so, you know, we'll have to translate it for Israel, it'll be less. But the research that they've shown is for a family of four, if you're making $75,000 a year, after that, so up to $75,000, your sense of fulfillment and happiness rises with more income. But once you reach 75, it plateaus. So now $75,000 annually for a family of four in the United States is not a very high
yeah.
salary. So, you know, I think if you went on the streets and asked people, it would be great. I know you like to do that. Ask
Yes.
people, you know,
Yeah.
how much money would you need
Yeah.
to really
That's
be
a-
happy?
That's a good topic.
Yeah, they
That's
would.
a-
It would be so much higher.
yeah, they'll
than
say
what is
they'll say millions.
exactly.
I know they'll say I want to have because like real estate is so high in Israel. Just to buy an apartment, so they'll say right away $1 million. I think, you know, just to have a saving. I don't
Yeah.
know about annually. But Israeli likes to spend money, so I don't know.
And again, I don't
Yes.
want
Yeah.
to be misinterpreted.
Yeah,
Like
yes.
there's nothing wrong with spending
Yes,
money. There's
if you
nothing wrong
Yes.
with enjoying it.
Yes.
And again, even looking at the research, you know, we're in such a not so much here in Israel, Hanukkah, but you know, Hanukkah and Christmas in the United States and in
Yeah.
North America, it's such a consumer time.
Yes.
But, you know, again, the research also shows that when we invest in experiences, that
Yes.
is so much more fulfilling for us than
Yes.
when we invest in things.
Yeah.
When we invest in
Right.
purchases, you
Right.
know,
It's-
our desire.
It's like eating sufgania.
Yes, it's a momentary joy,
Yes,
and then
yes.
we regret it. But if
Yes.
we take our family on a trip together,
Yes.
and you know we have memories,
Yeah.
then that's
True.
something that we continue to enjoy throughout our lives.
Yeah, and we share it, and we look at the photos.
Exactly.
And we remember.
So it's not only
Yeah.
you know if you have money to spend, but what are you spending your money on?
Yes, true. So when you meet a new client that has a lot of money, let's say we'll talk about kids, because kids who brought up or grew to a lot of money, they never had to worry about money. Anything they wanted, they had. And so how do you start a conversation with kids? With second generation, let's say.
Well, usually, it depends. If I'm working
Yes.
with a family, I might be working with young kids and
Yes.
having them do developmentally appropriate activities that feel like play. So one of my favorite things is I'm a big believer that
Yes.
at-
What age are you talking about?
yeah, so even
Yes.
as early as 5,
Yes.
I think that kids should be getting allowance.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that I coach my clients to talk about allowance is that everybody in the family gets the benefits of the money that's brought into the family. So each person gets a little bit of it.
Yes.
I do not like to attach it to chores. A lot of people say, like, you do these chores and you'll get this allowance. I also think that kids should do chores. I just don't think they should be connected. I think, you say to your kids,
Because
just
then-
like you get
Yes.
some of the great things, we
Yeah.
all share the
because
responsibility
this
too.
way you create competition.
Well, and
maybe.
also some kids say,
Yes.
I'm not going to do that, so
Yeah.
don't pay me my allowance. You don't want to.
It doesn't work.
You don't want to
Yes.
buy off your kids
Yes,
either.
yes, yes.
If kids want to make money and they say, can we do something extra for money?
Yeah.
You could maybe say, like, oh, well,
Wash
you
the
could
car.
wash the car.
Yes.
Exactly. But,
Yeah.
kids from a very young age. So
Yes.
one of the activities I like to do with families is I get, like the Quaker oatmeal used to come in these beautiful round containers, but I get 3 of these kind of cardboard containers and I have kids decorate them, do like a collage. You'll love
Yes.
this because you
Yeah.
love art.
Yeah.
So they take pictures out. So one of the containers is for spending and they make a piggy bank out of it. So like in the
Yeah.
top, they cut a little hole.
That's a good advice for the people who are listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one is for spending, and kids can do a collage of everything they want to spend their money on. It could be, I don't know, candy, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Toys, whatever.
maybe a book. Who knows these days?
Right.
Yes.
One's for sharing. So
Yes.
then they collage the second thing for what they want to share.
Sharing for everybody?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, they might say, oh, I really love animals, so I want to share my money with an organization that supports animals. Or, it makes me sad when I see people on the streets. So I want to share my money to
Wow,
help,
that's
so they're
beautiful.
decorating that. And then
Yeah.
the third one is for savings. So, and kids, that they might be saving for a bicycle. It's something that isn't, an immediate purchase, but
Yes.
something that they have to think about for a while. I mean, in my family,
Long-term.
Yes. You have to be a little careful because my kids do love animals. My
Yes.
son especially likes horses, so he would have had a horse both on the sharing
wow.
and on the savings. You got to be a
wow.
little careful, like
Okay.
what they're saving
Yes.
for.
Yes.
But and then when they get their allowance, I like to have the allowance be different kind of coins that they can have. Again, this is easier in the United States, but you could still use agarot here.
Yes.
So say that you give your kids, say you give them 10 shekel.
Yeah.
And so you give it to them in a lot of different coins, and then they get to decide how they want to, where they want to put
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But and you might talk about it as a family. What you're doing in your box.
Yes.
How much of our money do we put aside?
Yes.
For saving.
But let's say if it's an older person, like 18, 19, 20, and the parents say when they get 23 or 26 or 30 or a certain age, they'll will start giving him that kid.
Some of the money.
Yeah, some
or
of
they get access to a trust.
Yes.
So
yes.
very frequently I work with inheritors who, and it always seems to be some variation on this story. They're at college, again, this is sort of based on an American model, so
Yes.
a little bit earlier, kids here in the
Yes.
Army. And they either are brought to the financial advisor or the family lawyer, or they get something in the mail, which is even worse, and it says you have come into all this money.
It's okay. It's okay.
And
yes.
The parents don't usually talk to them about that. They don't prepare them for it. Even if they do prepare them, they say, you're going to have access to a trust. But when they sit down and they open that envelope and see how much money, they're stunned and they're overwhelmed.
Yes.
So frequently they hide it because they're they're living with other people. They're embarrassed. People are having student loans. They don't.
Yes.
And they don't know what to do with it. They feel really overwhelmed. And where do you go to talk about that? If your friend's eating,
pizza.
Pizza's something good. I was going to say macaroni out of a box.
Yes, yeah.
They're eating that, and they're worried about how they're going to pay their student
really
loan back.
awkward situation. I mean, it's very uncomfortable. So what do you do? I mean, do you have a conversation with the parents? I mean, do you educate their parents how to talk to their kids?
So again, it depends who's brought me in and when they've brought me in.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite thing is for, and this happens for young parents, particularly in the .com area, when they come into a lot of money to say, we really want to be thoughtful about how we're going to raise our kids with wealth. And we want to do it at different ages in developmentally appropriate ways. But say the kids come in and they're just overwhelmed. And I mean, it doesn't usually happen because at that point they don't know how to find me. So usually they find me maybe in their early 30s. They're thinking, they're getting into romantic relationships. They don't know how to talk to a partner about the wealth that they have. They're worried to tell their friends. They're hiding. They might not tell their friends where they live, or if they go on a vacation, they might lie about where they're going because they don't want to.
Yes.
They don't want to stand out like that.
Yeah.
And then they might find me online. I mean, I think I told you this before, that almost I can set my watch by it. If I'm meeting with a young inheritor, probably 20 minutes into the first session, they say to me, I'm so happy I found you.
Yes.
I really have nowhere else to talk about it.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer that whatever people's circumstances are, they have a right to fully explore their life, all the aspects of it, and not feel judgment or shame. Because when you have
it's amazing when you don't have money, when you're poor, you feel ashamed. When you have a lot of money, you feel ashamed. So it's really so.
Yes, shame is really strongly attached to money across the board. And again, my belief is because we don't talk about it.
Or fear as well. Fear I'm going to lose money. If I'm going to say something, they'll want my money. If they'll know that I have a lot of money, they'll expect me to contribute more.
Right.
And
these are all very normal things that aren't so hard to figure out if someone's given the opportunity to openly explore it. But because people don't usually have a place to explore, so all these thoughts are just running around in your head. And it makes it really challenging for people.
Yes. And also there's a lot of money is also about bring jealousy, hate, anger, so many different emotions.
Yes, and that's why your question was so great. What is money? Because even though it's just metal, it's just paper, we have built it almost into a god in some ways.
Yes.
And what's fascinating to me is the ways that we're not even accurate, that we put money on a pedestal inaccurately.
Yes, like people with money will look up to them. Like if they have money,
that if I have, another $10, another $100, another $100,000, another $1 million, I'll be happy.
Yes.
But it's like, if you're not chasing the right metrics, then you're, it's empty. Again, it's like continuing to eat sugar and wondering why you never get full.
Yeah, like there are Steve Jobs. He had the whole money in the world, but he couldn't buy his health with money. So, I mean, money have so many different directions, and
I think if we talked more about money, we would have less less layers of confusion.
Yes.
But because we don't talk about it,
because we don't talk,
right?
We don't talk. We don't talk about truth. We don't talk what we think. We're afraid to talk.
Right.
And especially in families, I mean, inheritors, if one kid gets less, or one kid gets, let's say, one business and the other one get a different business or different property, it's worth the same, but for some reason they feel that this guy got a better one and this daughter got a less. So it's
and again, I think that's also because generally that's not talked about. Generally, it isn't that the family sits down and the parents say, "Here's what we're thinking of leaving everybody."
Yes.
You know, is there something that is important to you? You know, one of the things that I recommend to families is have the kids weigh in. What are the things in our family that are important to you? You know, maybe somebody loves this painting and it has a memory to me. Maybe it's not the most expensive painting, but I'd rather have that painting than the other painting in the house that's worth much more. So if you also start to discuss these things
before you do anything,
right? Because what happens is you know, parents die, and then everybody makes their assumptions about things. They can't go back to the parents and say, "Why did you split it up this way?"
True.
And then you start to make all the stories.
Yes. It's the same in family business that nothing. I mean, many things are not talked, and then there are fights, and because people don't understand.
Well, and I think that's the root of it. Not having clear communication erodes trust, and then really starts to wreak havoc in families.
Yes. So, as we said, there are a lot of emotional baggage around money, disturbing thoughts, disturb us all. I mean, if I, you know, since I was looking at money, it's something that I'm thinking about it. I don't know how much I spend thinking about it during the day, but it's something I think about it all the time, more or less, you know. But so there are lies, there are betrayal, there's war, and we talked about why. Okay, let's move on and put another song of Hanukkah. Let's see what we're gonna put. Hanukkah, Ho Hanukkah. It's I found that it's a kids song. It's a very lovely song. I liked it.
Hanukkah, come light them and all
Okay, we are back on money and wealth. So today is Hanukkah. So on Hanukkah there's money geld, money, dmei Hanukkah. Hanukkah geld money. Hanukkah is a favorite holiday of mine. It is a family gathering, kindling.
Family gathering.
Gathering, yes. The Hanukkah lights, singing Hanukkah songs. It is the winter. It is the month of my birthday. I used to love the holiday tradition food, latkes, potato pancakes, jam-filled sufgania, jam-filled donuts, which is sufgania, and gifts, money, Hanukkah geld, dmei Hanukkah. Hanukkah geld, sometimes it's also, they put chocolate geld.
That's what I thought you had in there. I was a little disappointed when you were shaking it and made so much noise.
I'm sorry. Next time.
Thought we were going to be eating chocolate.
Yes. Okay, so Hanukkah geld, Yiddish for Hanukkah money, known in Israel by the Hebrew translation dmei Hanukkah. It's often distributed to children during the festival of Hanukkah. The giving of Hanukkah geld also adds to the holiday excitement. The amount is usually in small coins, although grandparents or relatives may give larger amounts. But I always remember the Hanukkah money that I received. I always waited for that as a kid. The tradition of giving Hanukkah geld dates back to a long standing East European custom of children presenting their teacher with a small amount of money at this time of the year as a token of gratitude. So how was it in USA when you grew up?
So when we grew up, we always got one present every night for the 8 nights. And you always knew that you had like one big present. Didn't necessarily mean big in size, but like one special present. And then, the other presents might be socks or, other things.
So each night?
Oh. So, but, one of the things that I did with my kids, and I really recommend this, it could be with giving Hanukkah geld, or it could be with presents, is one night would be giving presents to others.
Yes.
And so I would take the kids and they would each pick out a toy that they would like to have, and then we would wrap it, and then we'd go to Children's Hospital and we'd take the toy there for kids, or to a homeless shelter and give the toys there. But it was really important that the kids, first of all, that they picked it out, and then that they went with us, to, that they wrapped them, that they decorated them, then they actually, so that they got to see that not every kid gets a present every night, and that they got to have the joy that not only receiving gives you, but giving gives you.
Yes, absolutely.
The other thing you can do with with money is we used to have different, we still do, have little different tzedakah boxes.
Yes.
And one was really small. So I think it would take maybe 6 quarters. So $1.50 or something. So the kids could really quickly, and before Shabbat, they'd each put in, a little bit of money. And then when it filled up, we would say, okay, what are we going to do with this? It wasn't a lot of money.
Yes.
So sometimes it would be, let's give it to someone on this who's homeless, or maybe it's let's buy a meal for somebody who's homeless and go. One time it was my son wanted to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for people and distribute them in the park, it was kind of funny because he had no sense of like who was homeless and who was picnicking during their lunch break, but he handed out peanut, and he felt great about it.
That's wonderful. But when you were a kid, how was it?
When I was a kid, let's see. It was I think it's one of the things that's most challenging of living in the States is that you feel that you're always getting sort of the raw end of the deal. It's not Christmas. It's not waking up in the morning. It was especially bad during Passover. You're eating matzah. They're having Easter bunny chocolates, So I think that always was a time where I felt like that I didn't quite belong. People would say Merry Christmas. I remember my son, when we lived in San Francisco, he made us put a sign on our door he was really little. It said, we're Jewish, we celebrate Hanukkah, because he didn't like people coming and saying happy, Merry Christmas.
Yes,
But again, it's these small opportunities where we demonstrate through our actions to our kids what's important and our values. So if you're,
But it's okay to say Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. I mean, to celebrate all holidays, or say Happy Holidays.
yeah, for sure. But he felt like
yeah.
the other.
Yes, because
you
he
know.
went to Jewish school, probably.
No.
No.
But
okay.
so he was
home.
right. So that was
Yeah.
a big difference.
Yes.
My kids, when we moved, they were 8 and 11. To
Yes.
be on the same calendar as the
Yes.
rest of the country, to have our traditions
Yes.
be the national holidays.
Yes, true. And because in Israel now, some of the stores, they have Christmas decoration. You go to Jaffa, you go to Nazareth, you go.
Well, because we're not
it's-
just a Jewish
yes,
state.
yeah,
we
it's-
have
it's-
other religions.
Yes, I think since the Russian Aliyah, the big Aliyah, they brought different tradition also to the country, because you see it every year more and more, and people like it. All the decoration and everything.
Well, in general,
Yes.
we're starting to adopt strange
Yes.
things. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
so funny to me that we have Black Friday now.
Yes,
It's the
yes,
day
true.
after Thanksgiving. People don't
Yeah.
even celebrate Thanksgiving in Israel, but we have Black Friday
Right.
because, it's another opportunity to buy.
Right, it's a good business. So, and selling Christmas decoration is good business. So.
Right, exactly. My friends are always so surprised when I say, like, what do you do for Hanukkah? You light candles, but it's not such a big holiday. You don't get off work. You don't,
Yeah.
it's such a
True.
major holiday in the
Yes.
States because it sits opposite of Christmas.
Yeah, but still, because people, kids are not in school, they have. I think kids has vacation. No, in
Well, if you're going to, it depends. If you go to a Jewish day school, you get
No,
out for
no,
Hanukkah.
In Israel,
Oh, the kids, they
yeah,
get
they-
Hanukkah vacation, but
Yes.
people don't get off work.
Yes, but they take this advantage and they go
Right.
on vacation with their kids. So another question I have: what is the difference when it comes to money and wealth between women and men?
Oh, well, that's not an easy answer, is it? I mean, there's a lot of generalizations in there.
Yes.
Can I make any? I'm not sure that I can say
Yeah.
anything that,
Uh-huh.
is a difference between men. I think there's a tendency for women to be more worried about losing the money, even when they have wealth.
Because I know women are more when they invest money, they check more. They're more conservative than men. That's from what I
I would be curious to see
Yeah.
what gets borne out by research and what is still
Yes.
a result of traditionally women. It's only been 2 generations that
Yes.
women are really in the job market,
Yes.
that they even have their own ownership of money and land, and that they're
Yes.
even allowed to have inheritance.
there are more. If you look at the business world, there are more men who are rich than women.
Well, that's starting to
Yeah.
change.
Oh,
I
yes.
actually think in the
Yes.
United States
Yeah.
that women have greater control over wealth than men do.
Oh, really?
Or it's creeping up. I think it's very close. So, but again, if you look at historically, even if you were a woman and the wealth came from your family, it wasn't so many generations ago that that your husband is the one that had control of it.
But you think, from your experience, from speaking to women, speaking to men, that as far as investing, men are more like taking more risk, and women are taking less risk. No?
I don't think that bears out.
Okay.
I think that,
Okay.
I know a lot of women, it depends what age they are.
Yes.
It depends what their background is. I haven't found anything that...
Because you see now, maybe that's the research that I read, that there are more women in the work in business. That you see more and more in higher position, women in higher position than before. And
Absolutely.
And in family business also you see even more women getting more involved and also in high position.
Well, that I can say for sure, that
Yes.
women are starting to hold more powerful positions in the workforce. They're starting to hold more powerful positions in family businesses. They're getting advanced degrees to a greater extent. So we're seeing a rise, but
Yes.
it doesn't necessarily mean that more women than
Yes.
men do this. You know, it's just,
So it's just that you say it's a person. Women is a person, men is a person, and each one has different idea, like each person. I mean, it's each person is unique, and they have their own ideas. One is more taking risk, and one is not. It doesn't mean if it's a man or woman.
right. I really try to pull back from making
Yes.
generalizations, because what I find is that people all the time want to make judgments and generalizations about wealth holders, as if they're some, monolithic group.
Yes.
And they're stingy, they're generous, whatever they are. But I think when we're looking at, whenever we look at people as part of a group, Jews, you could say,
Yes.
Christians,
Yes.
Arabs,
Yes.
I think you run the risk of
Yes.
of running into danger, as opposed to saying, I really, all of my work is very tailored to the individual or the family that I'm working with,
Mm-hmm.
and what is most important to them, and how can you get outside of the shoulds or musts or
Yes.
assumptions or judgments.
So maybe in countries like maybe Israel, if a woman she's inherited, like there's Sari Harrison, and I think if she was a man, she was approached differently. Because she's a woman, she's approached the way she's approached.
I think I think that's
But-
partially
but-
true, and
but-
something that we're trying.
So it's part of a tradition. It's part of. It depends what.
There's a long
Yes,
history, and it
yes,
takes a
yes,
while. But
yeah.
again, the more that we try to say, we even ask questions
Yes.
like, tell me the difference between men and women in
Yeah.
money,
Yes.
the more that we start to reify that that's a thing, as
Yeah.
opposed to saying,
Yeah.
Sherry Aronson is an inheritor, and she has certain ways of spending her money and investing her money, and that's based on who she
I
is.
think she does amazing work. I mean, really amazing work she does. But there's so much around that because she's a woman.
Yes,
And,
I mean, and again, those are, it's fascinating what
Yes.
culture puts on us,
Yes,
both in
yes.
terms of if you're a woman, if
Yeah.
you're an inheritor,
Yes.
if you have wealth, there's a lot of judgment. So
Yes,
you can
yes.
understand why.
And also it depends what country you are in. If it's Italy, if it's Israel, if it's United States, different approach in different countries.
Certainly.
Yes. Okay, so so we're covering quite a lot today, but it's something to look into it. I mean, but as you say, there was a research in Italy. I heard recently about family business, about women working in family business and men working in family business. If there's a difference, and they came to conclusion that there's no difference, just different approach about things. So
At the end of the day,
Yes.
we're all individuals,
Yeah,
and
right.
it's hard to tease
Yes,
out also
yes.
what is culturally put upon us
Yes.
versus what is innate. It's
Yes.
the whole nature and nurture
Yes.
argument, which no one's figured out yet. So
okay, so tell us a little bit about your family business, because you also have.
yes, so
Yes.
I'm a second generation
Yes.
in a family business. My father started a chain of roller skating rinks in the United States. And my siblings and I now own 60% of the operating business, and we also own the real estate. So it's been really fascinating because both of my siblings work in the business, and I've never worked in the business. For a while, my husband.
Why?
It's not. I'm so grateful to the
Yes,
business and the
yes.
opportunity that the business has brought us and in our family and to my parents. And it's not the way that I see that I
Yes.
can best make my contribution in the world.
Yes. But you're still on the board, so
Yeah, I'm
so-
an owner.
Yes.
So I have certain responsibilities in that
Yes,
term, but
yes.
I've never, that's not my paid work.
Yes.
So, it's been fascinating, especially as we've transitioned from the first generation to the second generation with the business and having to turn over responsibilities, having to work together as siblings. We're all married, so having to work with our partners as well.
Yes.
And starting to think about now bringing in the third generation. Most people, at least in the United States, they refer to each of the generations of wealth as G1, G2, G3. I actually don't like that because
okay.
I think, if you say you're first generation of a family business, that's one thing. But if you say you're just, you're a G2,
Yes.
it's as if you're in the second generation of the family. And I think it's really important to recognize that
Yes.
the family exists.
Why G?
Well, G is for generation.
Yes, I
but
know.
the family,
So it's-
you're not the second generation of your family. Your
Yes.
family has existed
Right.
for a very long time.
So that's why they decided to say.
So
Yeah.
what I work with my clients is to say M1, M2, M3. So the first generation of the money. So I'm the second generation of money in our family, and we're thinking about now, how do we bring the third generation?
Yes.
It could be that they come into the family business, but it's also that they're starting to inherit money. So how do we work with them on that? And there's a big age difference between my kids and my siblings' kids. So also thinking about that.
Yes.
When my kids are heading into their 20s and my siblings have kids that are, just over 10. So
That's
they're different,
challenging.
different developmental
Yes,
places.
yes. And how do you bring your knowledge, your expertise to the family business?
Well, I think
Because-
you have to
yes.
tread lightly.
Yeah,
You have to offer, just the same way my siblings do.
Yes.
We all offer the expertise that we
Yeah,
have
yes.
in various areas,
Yes.
and we see to what extent it's welcome or it's not welcome.
Yes, yes. And when you said, did your father ask you to join the business? There were any point of your life?
I always knew that
Yeah.
was an option.
Uh-huh.
That was, if I was interested, that was available to me.
But did he ever approach you and say, I would like you to join the business? Or why don't you want to join the business? Or would you consider join the business in the future?
Well, I'm the oldest, so he
Yes.
always talked about that he'd like someone to work in the business, and that we have this opportunity with this family business that has
Yes.
been very lucrative for us to continue it, and that
Yes.
it would take a lot of work and responsibility, but it was always an opportunity. And I just, it was never something that really interested me. It wasn't.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just curious to know if he ever said, "Let's talk." I want to.
I think there were many talks
Yes.
and many conversations.
Yes.
And, it was a matter of understanding who I
Yes,
am.
yes.
And so, would I say that I feel like he's let down that I'm not in the family business? I hope not.
Yes.
I think he's proud of me for pursuing. One of the things we always talked about in my family was that growing up, my parents always said that the money was there not for us to do anything we wanted in the world, but for us to do what we're passionate about. And the example
So
was
that's-
always, if you want to be
Yeah.
a kindergarten teacher versus, working on Wall Street.
Yes.
And that the money would be there to help you do the thing that you feel like you're put on this earth to do.
So that's a good approach. I like that. Okay, so we still have time. We have more time today than normally. Okay, so let's see. We'll put yes. Another thing I want to ask you about building a 100-year family enterprise, the research that you are involved in.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I would love to. So I've been part of a research study for the last 5 or 6 years where we've looked at families that have been able to pass down their wealth and maintain their family relationships across 4 generations, which is pretty unusual. You know, there's a lot of...
How many of them?
In the world? We've interviewed over 100 families in 22 different countries.
So it's 100 years and 100 families.
Yes, exactly.
And how many in the United States, for example?
You know, I don't know the research on that, but it is a small percentage because, you know, if you think about it exponentially as the family continues, first of all, there's greater mouths to feed. You know, when you're the first generation of a family, there might only be 4 of you, 5 of you, then the next gen, you know, so it keeps getting bigger and bigger.
True.
But we wanted to look at, most people are looking at why do families fail in 3 generations. There's a lot of, in English, there's a saying, you know, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, which, you know, says that 1 generation makes the wealth, the 2nd generation maintains it, and by the end of the 3rd generation, you're back to where you started in terms of not having wealth.
Yeah, in Israel, they say first generation build, the 2nd generation destroy.
Yeah, and they say it in multiple languages, and it's become almost a thing that hangs over like an inevitability. And it really isn't. We don't have good research on that. So we felt like, you know, just going back to the idea of psychology, where are we looking at something at how to fix something, or are we looking at best practices? You know, and I'm much more of a person that likes to look at being proactive rather than being reactive. So we said, let's study these families across the world and try to see if we can understand what they're doing right, and if we can build some best practices for families in earlier generations that they can already be putting infrastructure into their families.
So it's 100 families, family business or family wealth.
Well, we call them family enterprises because they might not have an operating business anymore. They certainly started with an operating business, and even if they don't have an operating business, they still have real estate in common. They have some kind of interconnected financial responsibility one to another.
And those 100, not only in the United States, all over the world.
You know, I've interviewed people in Italy, people in China. We have some families from Israel. So really all areas of the world have been represented. And, you know, it's amazing. I interviewed a family that I think the person that I interviewed was in the 16th generation of the family business.
Wow.
And he was in his late 60s, early 70s.
Where?
So they were
From
on.
where?
I don't want to say because,
okay.
again, we want to keep the confidentiality. You know, how many families can be in 17th generation?
Yeah, I know. In Europe, you can see many generation, I think.
Yeah.
Something to do with tradition, with respect. I think there's a lot of respect and keeping the legacy of the family. It's very, very important to the people who are part of it.
Yeah, and what we see is that it takes a lot of hard work. I mean, it
absolutely.
Really, the more infrastructure a family has around staying together, you know, who is the family, it's very easy to look at. So I've just completed, we've been doing this study, but I just completed writing a book with 2 of my colleagues who are also part of the study, Dennis Jaffe, who's going to be in Israel in about a month, and also Isabella St. Giles, so from Holt University. So the 3 of us looked at how families are using philanthropy, corporate social responsibility, and impact investing to help the family have greater sustainability. And, you know, that was very fascinating. But across the board, what we're seeing is that the more infrastructure a family has, the more they're proactive of setting up governance structures, policies, and shared understandings of how things are going to run, the greater the ability to stay together. And the more that there's glue that really holds them together, particularly what we saw in the philanthropy is that could they have shared experiences and also... so
in contributing to the world, that's where they bonding all together.
They're bonding all
Yeah.
together in that, but it's the experiences.
yeah,
It's
the-
about doing
Yes.
things together
Yeah.
and having the ability to work through
Yes.
different disagreements.
Yes.
Doing, whenever you have a family united in doing something different,
yes.
so that can happen in the business.
That's relationship, really.
Exactly.
When they discuss openly, when they argue openly, when they do things.
But in order to do
Yes,
that well,
yes,
you
yeah,
have to have
yeah,
the
yeah.
infrastructure around
Yes,
that. You have
yeah.
to know how to communicate
Yeah,
well.
right. You need
to know
someone-
how to argue well.
Yeah, you need someone from the outside to teach you the skills in order to do it, and have someone from the outside. I mean, consultant like you or others.
Well, absolutely.
Yes,
Just like you would
yes,
never
yeah.
think of having
Yeah.
that kind of wealth and not working with an estate attorney or not
Yes.
working with lawyers or not
Yes.
working with a financial planner. Whenever you're talking about that much wealth and complexity,
Yes.
then you really need to come
Yeah.
at it with various expertise.
Yeah, that's very, very important for people who are. Yes. Okay. Just I'm gonna say for as a conclusion that it's very, very important to use consultant in order to communicate well.
Well, here's the thing. Why would you want to recreate the wheel? Why would you want to do all of that learning?
Yes.
It's the same reason we bring in consultants for any other
Yes,
things, to
yes.
bring that level of expertise and
Yes.
knowledge that other families are employing
Yes.
into your family. So
Yeah.
you could do it on your own, but it's
Yeah.
it's certainly harder, I think.
Yeah, and you just don't know. We don't learn. Many families, they don't know how to communicate, and it's not something we learn in school. So communication, it's a key point.
Absolutely. And again, there's not very many opportunities to talk about these things. And sometimes we want to have these conversations within the family, but sometimes we want to have these conversations with other people, like-minded people, which is why now I'm starting to do retreats
Yes.
for different segments of the population. My first retreat's going to be for female inheritors because, again, there's not a lot of opportunity to talk about what are
Yes.
those unique things
Yes.
of growing up with wealth, coming into relationships, bringing a partner into a wealthy family and integrating, working
Yes.
with siblings in a family business.
So you want to say when it's going to be this?
I would love to.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in the Grand Cayman Islands in the end of April 30th to May 7th this coming year. And it's a very small, intimate group, very casual, but a time away for people to really think about what we started off the conversation of this
Yes.
program about.
Yes.
What is wealth for me? What
Yes.
I call, thriving.
Yes.
What is it? How do I figure out what leading a rich life
Yes.
looks like for me?
Yes.
And then how can I have the support of other people who are going through something similar
Yes.
to help me so I don't have to
Yeah.
recreate the wheel?
Yes. Okay, so we are closing our show. So thank you very much, Jaymi.
Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure for me. Challenging in English, but I think I
Trust
did.
me, being an immigrant is the most humbling experience of my life.
But it was challenging, and as I said, it was a great opportunity. I always look for opportunities to practice my English. Okay, so we'll finish with one more song, and that's it.
Because we're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace, nace. Yeah, it's pretty clear. The Maccabees were few, they wouldn't take it, being told what to do. They wanted freedom that we today embrace, and all the rights to pray in all the right places. The ancient magazines, they put the Greeks on top, oppressed the Jewish state. they had to be stopped. But Maccabees had faith they wouldn't give it up. Our holiday is so much more than spinning plastic tops.
Yeah, my mama, she told me it's not about the food you fry. Faith, family, freedom, we celebrate for a night. You know the latkes and dreidels and presents are all good fun. But if that's all you do, then your holiday's just begun.
Because you know we're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace. Hey! We took the temple back. One day of oil burned much more than that. And now we celebrate by eating fat. But we're here to tell you that our holiday is so much more than spinning plastic tops.
Yeah, my Bobby, she told me it's not about the food you fry. Hey, family, freedom, we celebrate for a night. You know that latkes and dreidels and presents are all good fun. But if that's all you do, then your holiday's just begun. Because you know we're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about that nace. You know we're all about that nace, no oil. We're all about.
Another show, Family Business Talk Show, came to an end. Today we talked with Dr. Judy about money and wealth. We'll see you in 2 weeks. The program is broadcast live every 2 weeks on Sunday at 5 p.m. Download the app of First Social Radio. Follow us on Facebook. Share our programs. There are 130 different interesting programs on many different topics. Follow my show. Share with people that own family business. And if you work in a family business, come and talk your truth. The truth that no one wants to talk about, but everyone wants to hear. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Bye.
אתם מאזינים לרדיו החברתי הראשון. ועכשיו מדברים עסקים משפחתיים, על יחסים בין בני משפחה אשר עובדים ביחד, בהגשת השדרית יעל דור, ורק אצלנו ברדיו החברתי הראשון.
אתם מאזינים לרדיו החברתי הראשון.